So I describe the surrounding land of Stirley Community Farm as agricultural land, or previously agricultural land, with still some agricultural aspects to it. I've been here for around 12 months, maybe 18 months. So I'm still finding my way around. There's a lot of nooks and crannies. There is watercourses that run through the landscape, that run down to the river at the base of the valley. There are a number of different species of tree that run around the border and the perimeter of the fields. It's quite diverse for wildlife, and it's becoming more diverse. We often get roe deer running through. We have quite a few birds of prey as well in the area, which is nice. So I think it's quite a diverse landscape from my understanding as well. My project is part of a wider initiative called the Calder Greening Project. We work in partnership with Calderdale Council and the Environment Agency, and my project is the Mid-Calder and tributaries, which focuses on river regeneration and runs from Brighouse to Hebden Bridge. It works predominantly with looking at soft engineering works with the aim to increase biodiversity. I guess in terms it could be seen as rewilding. We look at a lot of bankside management to reduce siltation, where we've had heavy rainfall, flood damage, or there is animal access down to the riverbank. Basically creating a green corridor that runs down the catchment and reconnects the areas that are adjacent to the river channel. And the aim is basically to encourage the communities to see what's around, and at the same time provide that biodiversity and water quality kind of increase that is needed in that area of the river. My catchment is quite far away, so my catchment isn't connected to this catchment, but probably from a wider aspect is that any increase from a river system normally has an impact on neighbouring systems as well. So hopefully any environmental gains that we see over in the Calder catchment will be mirrored, or could provide even case studies for people to look at interventions that could be done on the Colne. Nature's dynamic, it moves between different systems, so what hopefully the idea is that if we see a benefit and a gain in one area, especially on a river system, that we'll see potentially seed banks regenerated down catchment. We might see wildlife increase, say even from otters or fish populations, because they travel predominantly up the channel. Then hopefully we'll see effects up and downstream of the catchment. I think land management is very important, especially from the initial stages, to make sure that the work done isn't lost. It depends on the reason that you were doing work there in the first place. For example, invasive species might require periodic treatment. I think if there is like a human aspect of why it was an area may be degenerated in the past, then it is a case of probably education and working with that kind of side. And I think there will always be a sense of management that will be required. But I think as an ecosystem becomes established, I think the idea is hopefully it will become self-maintaining. I think it's just regenerating and giving the area the opportunity to get to that stage where it is able to maintain and continue without losing any kind of significant biodiversity. From our project on the Mid-Calder, we've been working with the Halifax Scientific Society, who have a riparian botanist, a riparian being a botanist that specialises in species that border and marginalised riverbanks. He's actually very proficient and knowledgeable of Halifax species, or the Calder species. So we've been working with him, and he is provided with a species list of plants that have been lost from the area, and they were probably lost over time due to invasive species, and we've been working to re-establish that seed bank. So up catchment ideally, so that when they seed into that dynamic system is that if they seed into the upper reaches, then the seed will become washed down, maybe lodge in different areas of the bank lower down, and then hopefully become again established plants, which will then in turn seed again. So I think there has been a loss of biodiversity as a whole, and we are working towards trying kind of to regenerate that and re-establish that. And yeah, I think it's probably predominantly due to human activity and invasive species. If there's a specific species, I don't know if any have become endangered or extinct in the Calder Valley, but there are ones that they want to see recolonise in areas that have been lost to, say, Himalayan balsam or Japanese knotweed. And those are often found on your riparian boundaries. So there's ragged robin, there's herb robert, there's great woodrush. There's several different species that they're looking to try and encourage, but as well as the biodiversity, they also have a lot of bank stabilisation properties as well. So the roots will hold in sediment, reduce the amount of sediment entering into a system, and then increase it'll increase the low capacity and increase the water quality as well. Red Campion. Yeah, we have quite a lot of that on the towpaths as well. I mean, it has lost some biodiversity definitely, but it's not all bad news. There is definitely still quite a nice variety of species that can survive. I just think it is possible that we'll lose them if we don't act in certain ways at certain times, if that makes sense. I'd love to see that green corridor exists between the riparian channel areas, and I'd like to see an overall increase in biodiversity, a reduction of erosion for definite, and probably some more natural flood management techniques, just due to the heavy rainfall that we get in winter and the flash flooding events that can occur and often do in the area. Prior to working for the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, I was a tree surgeon. So I've always had a keen interest in nature, working outdoors. But one of the key reasons that I really wanted to get into conservation, especially river work, was the impact of flooding on the local area. I grew up in Calderdale and I grew up in Halifax, and year on year out you see heavy rainflows, you see massive flood events, and a lot of people getting impacted by that. And there was an opportunity to try and do something about it, to reduce the impact, or at least to reduce the effects of the flooding when it happened. And this was one of the reasons that I kind of got into conservation, and the ideas behind it is a shared environment between humans and nature, and I think you need to maintain that community, that connection, so I think that's kind of why I got into it, is because I had the opportunity to do that in somewhere that I grew up and would see the effects. We have really good community engagement, in fact, and very positive community. I believe a very positive community perception. I've never met anybody that has a problem with the works that we do. Everybody's very supportive. I think we live in we're quite fortunate where the project is, and the community as a whole, they do seem to recognise the importance of nature, that I've seen anyway, and they have a keen desire to maintain it and keep it for the future generations.